Nachi free.
I love this little girl. Isn't she adorable? Look at that. Look at that little face. I love her. You want to stay? You want to stay? You want to go? Do whatever you want. You have freedom. She does. Though I don't like to let her go outside because I don't want her to get run over by a car or anything. I always feel guilty about keeping them in the house, but whatever. Look, my point is this. For people who've been watching my videos, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it, especially when I get those few little comments like, hey, keep them going. Thank you. And I will. I love doing this stuff. I love making these videos. I love writing. I love doing animation and stuff like that. And this video is going to be about Obama's trip to Cuba. And I did have everything prepared. You know, this is not just an experimentation of, oh, let me see what it's like. I'm not that fucking self-indulgent. The thing is that I had a whole thing prepared. I had a script and everything. And I was really dreading going through the graphics because I'm literally getting to a point where I can no longer stomach looking at pictures of Fidel Castro and Raul Castro. I can't. Those fucking murderous, despotic tumors is what they are. They're fucking tumors is what they are. But anyway, like I said, I had everything prepared. I had a whole little thing. A whole little script that I was gonna put in. But then I in doing my research and looking for stuff, I came across an article which I've actually linked down below. So if you get tired of listening to my bullshit and you want to hear from actual Cuban dissidents on what they have to say about Obama's speech, I provided a link down below. And that was the article that changed my mind. I was like, because the whole point of the video was to say, thank you, Obama. I really, and I kept the title. I thought the title was kind of somewhat clever. Thank you, Obama. Fuck you, Fidel. Because I felt like Obama, to a certain degree, especially in the second speech on March 22nd, I felt like he really did, to a certain extent, he said things that I was glad he said, just very diplomatically. As much as I wanted him to come out and say, this is a fucking dictatorship. This is a fucking cancer on society. And of course, he wasn't going to say that. And much less in Spanish. He can't. He's not going to come out. Pero que esto es una dictadura. Esto no, it's not simply a one-party system and it's a difference of ideologies. No. Esto es una dictadura donde la gente han muerto por gusto. Y hay gente todavía hoy en día sufriendo. Que lo están torturando, cojones. Of course, he's not going to say that. He can't. He's supposed to be presidential. But when I read that article, and I read how disappointed this couple was. And they get the beatings. I don't. I'm lucky enough to live here. I have the freedom to say whatever I want. If I wanted to say that Obama's a fucking piece of shit, I could say it. And I don't think he's a piece of shit. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff. And especially this whole thing with the embargo, I believe, yes, good. I'm glad the embargo, well, not that I'm glad the embargo is being lifted, but for the sake of the Cuban people, for the remaining family and friends that are still over there, I can't imagine what else could be done for them. What disappoints me is the fact that Obama is apparently a terrible fucking negotiator. Either that or he obviously knows shit that we don't know and we'll never know. That's the thing about U.S. presidents. They are privy to information that the majority of us are never going to know. Not even the nosiest reporter, hell, not even the vice president is privy to some of this information. And historically, you could prove that with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who I'm no fan of either. There was a good PBS documentary on Truman. It's a documentary on Harry Truman, who became president after Franklin Delano Roosevelt died in office on his fourth fucking term. He didn't need to be, Anyway, let me not fucking talk about FDR. The point is, when he becomes president, when Truman becomes president, it's the middle, we're all, I'm going to say we, why not? I'm proud to say I'm an American, and even though I wasn't born there and I had nothing to do with any of those decisions, I'm going to just say we. We were already at war. And by the way, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, when he went for the third term, the United States still wasn't at war, but whatever. The point is, once Truman becomes president, they tap him on the shoulder, and they're like, hey, by the way, we got to drop a couple bombs over in Japan. Okay, we want to end this shit, we got to drop it. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of, there's theories that, oh, yes, it was justified, you needed to drop the bombs because more people were going to die if you didn't drop the bombs, as horrific as it was. Look, the point is, according to the documentary, they're like, hey, Truman, we're dropping bombs and you're going to approve them. And he was like, what? I don't know if it went down like that, but whatever. Truman was probably like, what the? I don't want to drop bombs on other human beings that just happen to be Japanese, though we were American, whatever. That's the thing. Presidents end up knowing things that not even their vice presidents know. And so when I see this whole thing with Obama and the embargo and the fact that I don't think any political prisoners were released on this fucking piece of shit. Let me finish that idea. The idea that Obama, that there were no political prisoners released with the embargo and the lifting of the embargo, I don't know what Obama knows. I'm going to give the man the benefit of the doubt. And I have every right as a tax-paying, voting American citizen to opine on how the president should do his job. Okay? The president is a representative of the American people. He doesn't lord over us like these fucking cancerous tumors that are Fidel and Raul Castro and every other fucking piece of shit dictator out there. And I see it's always best to have a script, because if not, I just start cursing and shit. And look, I'm going to try to keep this short. Where am I at now? 7 minutes. Look, I'm going to try to keep this under 10 minutes. My point is this. I'm glad that Obama went there. I'm glad he basically said, fuck you, Fidel, also. He basically said this to fucking Fidel Castro, but extremely diplomatically. And if you listen to the March 22nd speech, there are moments, the moments that I agreed with, fortunately, are the same moments that the González couple, because I already, her name's escaping me. I believe it's Ailer and Rodiles. Rodiles, I definitely remember. González. The moments of the speech that they agreed with are the same ones I agreed with. But they feel like they've been let down. And they're the ones to talk. They're the ones living that nightmare. And yet I feel compelled to add a voice to this, man. More people need to know that Fidel Castro is a murderous, sociopathic tyrant that would have put a bullet through his own children's heads to stay in absolute power. This fucking romantic bullshit that this guy did a revolution because he wanted to fight for the freedom of the Cuban people and to usher in free medicine, free healthcare and education for all is bullshit. Even in North Korea, they supposedly tout the fact that they have free healthcare and education. Bullshit. That's the least that that these regimes give back, because they have to. If not, they know the people will fucking choke them out. But that's the problem with the Cuban people. They're tired of this shit. They're tired. And that's the problem with most good human beings that are not willing to murder other human beings. They accept, they adapt, they overcome. So for anybody, by the way, for other people, because I've heard this from enough people already, like, oh man, the Cuban people, they need to revolt like we did. No, dude. That's where don't say we when it comes to the American Revolution. Okay, if you weren't walking around with a musket back in the 1700s, it ain't we now, okay? And if you're not strapping nowadays, if you're not in the armed forces, I wish I had the balls and the discipline to be part of the armed forces that protects us from other hideous monsters like ISIS. But I'm not. All I can do is, you know what, take off my hat in appreciation and give a cloud nine of appreciation. My hat's off to all the truly brave men and women serving in the armed forces, and to all the truly brave men and women in Cuba that are not putting up with that shit. The dissidents and the political prisoners, which you can be assured Raul Castro fucking knows who they are. He's got that fucking list on his desk. That fucking piece of shit. Ay, dame la lista. Qué cretino tú eres. Qué cretino, qué hipócrita, qué mentiroso tú eres. Ojalá que tú y tu hermano ya mueran, cojones. Que ya se mueran pronto, coño. Y qué lástima que no van a morir como ustedes han hecho morir a tantos otros. Es que yo ni los quiero llamar asesinos, porque para ustedes eso es un elogio, yo lo sé. Yo me imagino. For anybody who doesn't understand what I'm saying, I don't even want to call them murderers and assassins, because for them that's probably a compliment. These social fucking pathetic pieces of shit. And that's the other thing I want to communicate out there. It so disturbs me to see that that's how the human species works. I get it, we're social creatures, we're carbon-based life forms and pattern-seeking mammals. Okay. And that's the thing, that we're always constantly trying to see who's the successor, who's the one that's actually securing their survival, and we tend to mimic that. That's why I can't criticize the many Cubans who have allowed this regime to be in place. The milicianos, the stooges. Because that's the thing, that these dictators, because Fidel's fucking hardly unique. Every fucking dictator, they create the kind of situations in their countries where it's just desperation. It's truly dog eat dog, every man for himself. For any of you fucking pseudo-intellectuals out there who are against capitalism but you live off its benefits in this country, especially you. I'm going to try to stop using the word fucking, but this is the last one. You fucking dipshit Hollywood celebrities. Not all of you, of course. But there's enough of you, and I'm not going to mention your names. I'm going to give you fuckers the satisfaction. Those of you who think of Fidel Castro as some sort of champion of social justice, and that to this day you think that those military fatigues are almost a fashion statement. Yeah, it's a fashion statement to you people. To anybody of Cuban descent, to anybody actually living over there, those fatigues represent a police state. They represent fractured skulls of people who have dared to speak their minds. Oh, you fucks. Whatever. My point is this, that I just hope that more people see this regime for what it is now. I hope Fidel and Raul die. I hope they die slow, painless deaths. I don't wish that on many people. I really don't. It's not healthy. I don't want to spread hate. I don't want to spread divide. But if there's any two people that deserve all the fucking suffering that they have given to others, millions of others, millions of families that have been destroyed and separated for no good reason, just because that one piece of shit wanted to be in absolute power. I hope the world finally sees this. And I'll leave, one last little thought. There's this saying that a lot of people say, well, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And, and that supposedly Fidel Castro was just forced into communism. Oh, God damn. I actually read that in The Lonely Planet. I don't know if they've changed their little guy. But now that people are going over to Cuba and, man, it's sip mojitos. Oh, it's so charming, so quaint and charming to see all these relics. Yeah, he wasn't forced into communism. He wasn't forced into imprisoning thousands of his people and torturing and beating people. No, he did that because he wanted to stay in absolute power. People who seek out power are already corrupt as it is. And people who obtain absolute power, those are the most corrupt ones of them all. It's not like the absolute power corrupted them, you fucking wannabe philosophers. Look, I'm going to cut this short. For anyone who actually stomached the entire video all the way through, thank you. And don't worry, not all my videos are going to be so bitter and acerbic. But I don't know how else to talk about this this fucking regime that I hope comes to a fucking end once and for all. Want to come up here? Anyway, I thought she was going to come up here. I would sign off with her, but thanks for watching.
Homegrown